Welcome back. Good afternoon, Kent Bain with Nine Business Group. We have Amy Gomez joining us today on Business Spotlight interview. Amy is with AG Grant Development. Amy, welcome. Please introduce yourself. Most importantly, introduce what you do, what makes you cool, and what sets you apart from the competition. Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm Amy Gomez, President and CEO of AG Grant Development. I write grants for charities and not-for-profits. I work with charities across Canada. My specialty, or where I really thrive, is working with those in the human and social services sector. But I've worked in all sorts of areas. What makes me cool? I don't know, just being me, I guess. I'm a relaxed person. I'm pretty casual, and I think I'm easy to work with. I think my clients would say that.
I hope so. You've been at this for 5 or 6 years now, maybe a bit longer. Since you started on your own, you went into being an entrepreneur. What's been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome?
From a business perspective, I don't know that I've faced a lot of challenges just being on my own. I've been pretty much in control of that. There's been some learning. In the beginning, I certainly wasn't charging enough, thinking about all of the extra expenses that come with being a business, not just my time. When you think about an hourly wage that you would make when working in-house, as opposed to having to pay for all your own technology, all your own software, your accounting, and all of those things. So over time, I've adjusted that. But I would say one big thing about being an entrepreneur that is a struggle is work-life balance and stress and mental health. When you're on your own, there's a lot more pressure. It's not just about not doing well at your job. It's about not being able to make an income if people don't want to work with you. And it's really hard to say no to income when people are asking you to do work. And while I can work from anywhere, and while I don't have to beg for 2 weeks of vacation a year anymore, I have my laptop with me all the time. So it's a lot when you're on your own. You don't want to let your clients down. And it can be really hard sometimes when things aren't successful, or you're really struggling with a particular client to get the results that they're looking for. It can have a big impact on your life.
Absolutely, for sure. Can we go back to your pricing? Not that you want to give us your pricing, but it's more, you commented you weren't charging enough. So can you give us an example of what you kind of started to charge? Maybe it was like, well, I was making $40 an hour at my job. So I kind of equated it to what? Can you give us an example of kind of where you started, and then kind of what you learned and how you ended up with whatever you're pricing at now for a much more comfortable business rate versus the Amy Gomez rate?
Yeah, when I started, I was only charging $35 an hour. That was when I was still working in-house. I was still had a full-time job. But once I launched on my own, and I recognized that I needed to charge a little bit more. So I did double that. And then over the years, I've learned that I don't like to talk about an hourly wage with my clients. And the reason is that I've become very efficient at what I do. So when I say an hourly rate to somebody, they're immediately going to go, oh, that's a lot. But when I represent it as a project rate, because it's not going to take me as much time as it would take you to do the same project. So over time, I increased my rates due to efficiency. And I just had that conversation with my clients and said, we've gotten a lot done for 40 hours a month. And that's, because I think I'm undercharging a little bit. Can we bring that up a little bit? And in some cases, we've reduced the hours, but increased the rate. So it's worked out.
So the number one lesson, what I'm hearing is, you don't charge by the hour, but you're basically charging it by the project. And in a way, the client's paying you for results, not your time.
Well, they're paying me for, I don't want to say results. I don't like saying that.
They're paying you to start a project.
Yeah, they're paying me for the completed project. Yes.
Yep. And then number two, can you give us an example of some things that in the beginning, and the reason I want you to say it is because I say it all the time, but not everybody I talk to gets it. And I want you to say it in your words. What other things didn't you account for in your initial fee schedule? what kind of other business expenses that you kind of after a month, a week, 6 months, a year went, man, there's other business expenses that I'm just not covering with my initial rate. Can you just give an example of some of those?
Yeah, sure. Owning a business, you get $50 to death. It's not being $20 to death, like having a kid asking you for lunch money every day. You've got your accounting software. I have software that I do for searching. You've got your legal fees, your accounting fees, your insurance, all of these things. In the very beginning, I did have, I was incorporated, so I did have a lawyer and I did have that. I didn't account for how much more expensive it would be to have business taxes done. I also didn't shop around for an accountant in the beginning, so I just went for one who was very, very expensive. I learned after time, it doesn't have to be that expensive. And yeah, there's your Microsoft license, upgrading your computer, your Zoom fees, which weren't really a thing in the beginning. In 2018, people wanted to meet in person. And that was another thing. When you're meeting people in person all the time, you have to, no matter what city you're in, by the time, getting ready to leave the house, leaving the house, driving to the client, driving back, that's at least 40 minutes of your time that's taken out of your day. Once COVID hit, I think for myself and probably a lot of other independent consultants, we realized we had a lot more time on our hands because we weren't driving to see clients in person. So I was actually able to grow my business during that time. Not only was there a huge need, but people were more willing to work with me when they were, living in Ontario instead of living in Alberta. And then I didn't have to travel anywhere, which was great. But there's extra fees for that as well, because you can't conduct yourself properly in business without having the technology to do so.
Well, I think in addition to that, you would probably have things that you have then account for. Takes time to do invoicing. That if you have a job's not accounted for. You got to collect the money, even the banking, all those other simple things, but they may add up to anywhere from an hour to 5 hours a week, depending on the task that as entrepreneurs, we still got to get paid for. They still have to be recognized, but not directly client facing. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. I think that's a great lesson for a lot of new startup businesses, owners out there kind of going, this is what I was making per hour at my other job. Well, it doesn't work that way because you're now a business and you have to price it as the business rate, not the personal rate. Okay. What is the greatest lesson you've learned other than pricing that you wish you would have known on day one? What is the one thing you've learned in 6 years you want to go back and tell Amy 6 years ago saying, learn this, do this on day one?
Oh, I don't know. I guess in the beginning, I was so scared that I wasn't going to have clients that I didn't specialize as much as I do now. I didn't focus on doing the things that I really wanted to do and working with the people I really wanted to work with. So I would take on all sorts of things. And that was why I left working for an in-house position in the first place, was that I was having to do all sorts of things I wasn't interested in doing. But I don't know that I could go back and tell myself that in 2018 when I was so concerned about having an income. I think you have to get that stability and see that success first. But yeah, I guess I'd go back and tell myself it's going to work out. Don't stress out about it so much.
I love it. So in other words, summary is you would tell young yourself, trust, specialize, get a niche, lean in, because it's all going to work out.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. As they say, specific is terrific. If there was a pirate or a thief in your business, what would they be stealing from you?
I don't have anything to steal. Everything I do is, I have spreadsheets and things I've created. Sure, there's content that I've written, but I'm happy to share that. I'm actually, was one of the founders of the Canadian chapter for the Grant Professionals Association, and I'm president of our chapter. And as part of that role, I'm really trying to grow grant writing as a profession in Canada. It's huge in the States. There's lots of grant writers in the States. There's very few here, and I'm always happy to share what I've learned. I'm happy to share things I've created. I'm happy to share processes. Anytime a young or starting out grant writer wants to talk to me, whether they're working in-house or trying to start their own business. So there's nothing on lock and key as far as my business goes.
Love it. No, it's great. What's your definition of success?
Um, I guess having a good reputation for what you do, I think that's really important. I think the most successful marketing strategy being word of mouth rather than other activities because your clients are just happy and working with you. Um, yeah, positive feedback from my clients tells me that I'm being successful, whether it means that they're being successful. I said I don't like to use that word success in grants. Not that I'm not successful in grants. I do raise, I think last year about $70 million for my clients across the country. I am successful, but that's not, I don't sell myself based on that. I sell myself based on the great product that they're going to get when we worked on a project together that they can use over and over again and pull content from.
Love it. The last and most important fun question, if you had room for one client, maybe two, what would be those one or two ideal clients? What industry are they in? And then lastly, where would they find you?
One or two.
We said you're full, so we can't say, wait, everybody call me.
Well, I'm also always happy to have a conversation. And unfortunately, if it's the right client and I'm trying to maintain my work-life balance, I won't say no. I absolutely love working with clients that are, like I said, human and social services, and it's all sorts of different things, whether it's, doing youth programming, whether it's working with Indigenous organizations, whether it's working in housing and homelessness, whether it's working with kids, whether it's working with a kid shelter, all sorts of things. That's my favorite kind of spot to work in. I like working with those that are community-based. I do work with some national organizations as well. And it's harder because they need more money to do what they do when they're operating on a national scale. But yeah, just charities working in that sector. And I'm always happy to have a conversation, and anyone can get in touch with me by email, on LinkedIn. I have a website, but it really needs updating. So, but you're welcome to go to it, but I understand it.
So what is it? What's the email address and what is the website?
The email address is agomez@aggrantdevelopment.ca. On LinkedIn, I'm just Amy Gomez, and my website is aggrantdevelopment.ca.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. I love the answers and I love the insight on pricing and fee scheduling. I think that's critical for all entrepreneurs to really get it right. And then absolutely talk to you real soon. Keep up the good work.
Okay, thanks.